Hey everybody, Kyle Coughlin here with my third daily vlog series. Kyle Coughlin Vlogs. Hey, that's me! I'm doing this whole vlogging thing and I'm having a ton of fun. I hope you guys are as well. Now, let's get to it, shall we? What are we going to talk about today? Well, I've been thinking about it and I was like, I should have maybe a little smidget, a little thing to talk about going into this, so I just don't sit here rambling on until I figure out a topic halfway through and then try to connect all the past things that weren't related to the thing I just brought up. So, nonetheless, what I want to talk about today is failure. I can't even see, I even failed to say the word I was going to say. Failure. There we go. That's what I want to talk about today, because that's a thing that not a lot of people like to talk about. Why is that? Well, I can name off a couple good reasons. It's embarrassing. People don't want to talk about their failures. Man, I can barely even say that word. I'm failing left and right here, even saying the word itself. That's ironic. Anyways, a lot of people just, including myself, just don't simply like to talk about it because, yes, it's embarrassing. It goes against your inner ego. Your ego says, no, don't talk about your failures. They're not to be talking about. No one wants to hear about what you failed at. They want to hear your success story. They want to hear all the good things, not all maybe the bad things that have happened. But you know what? I disagree with that. I believe talking about your failures is super important. Now, I'm not saying go tell the world like I'm about to here, but maybe with your close family or friends, boyfriend, girlfriend, you name it. It's good to talk about because there's always a lesson to be learned. There's something that's behind the failure to begin with. There's something that is telling you to try it again, do it in a new way, or maybe just don't do it at all. So, you guys want to hear about what I have failed at in my life? Many things. Too many to count at this point, especially since I've been on my own in the last year and a half now. But I'm going to talk about one of my earliest recollections of earlier in life, and that is when I was in elementary school or so. My loving and caring mom, love her to death, she was worried about my intelligence. She thought I was a little slow. She thought that there was maybe something going on, and she was rightly so. I have to admit, I was a little slow growing up. I was a little bit behind in school, most behind the other students. So she was looking out for me in her best interest, which I totally understand. Now, she signed me up for like an aptitude test, and I remember one particular question that I had no idea how to answer, and that was, what is a paperback book? And, this seems like kind of common knowledge, the flimsy books, opposite of a hard-shell book, of course. And I know this now, but back then, I don't know. This was probably third or fourth grade, so at this time, these kinds of knowledge questions were asked because it was kind of common knowledge for someone of this age, apparently, but I didn't know. So that was one of my probably first early failures that I've had. Can't get over that, saying that now. Incorrectly, that is. But yeah, so that was one of my earliest memories of failing, because I failed that test, and I still continued on with school. I didn't lose out on a grade or anything, but it was kind of one of those early things that I didn't really know what was going on. I wasn't that self-aware. Maybe that's why I had to take this test in the first place. But regardless, that's a very early memory. But maybe coming up towards now, where I've got my awareness and my skill set and my talents about me and my wits about me, that is. I've had a lot of failures since starting on my own. As I mentioned in my last couple vlogs here, I left my great job at Verizon, wanted to start my own business, whether it was creating music or video. I just knew I wanted to create. So I thought, hey, well, what a great way to create content then with social media, because that can open up doors into other places and yada, yada, yada. But aside from that, I've experimented so much and I failed every time. I tried selling my music on Snapchat and I didn't get paid by like 10 or 15 people. I just didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to sell on social media. I didn't know the types of agreements you should probably have in place beforehand. These are things I learned thereafter that I have since learned. You know, I didn't know really how royalties worked, and you know, I've actually lost out on money from some professional song productions, like that Chameleonaire guy I was talking to you guys about the other day that I got a song on. I haven't received a cent from that because I failed in knowing what to do, what to ask for. I didn't know, but you know what? All that has taught me, these are things you should do now moving forward. So at the time, yeah, I kind of beat myself up because I just didn't understand. But after going through the experiences, now I know, and I get these are the things you're supposed to do. So that's what these failures have taught me, is things that you should do moving forward. You know, these things in life come at you and they test you, and they test your knowledge, your ignorance. You know, I was ignorant to a lot of these things, how these things work in a lot of these industries, and now I do know at least some part of the fundamental requirements for these things. So regardless, what I'm trying to say here is that everything I've tried in the last year and a half has pretty much been a significant failure, but what I got out of it was an experience. Something that I learned, something that I now take with me moving forward in life. Yeah, at the time, it, you know, may have been a bummer, may have been, you know, a strike to my ego. You know, I may have beaten myself up, felt sorry for myself. These are all things that are normal and can happen to, and does happen to everyone. I'm certainly not the only one who has gone through this. I'm just here telling my experience of what I have gone through in my own way of dealing with failure and learning from it. So, I mean, I can name off a couple more examples. Gosh, oh man, there's all these like different failures in my head that I've had throughout my whole life, and it's hard picking out a specific one. There's just so many. But a lot of the recent ones I do have are in my own business dealings. For example, I did a consultation with a real estate agent for social media. And I never had anything set up like in writing, like, hey, this is supposed to be paid, you know, this is what I charge hourly. And I failed at collecting a payment from her because that was on me, though. I just didn't know what I was doing in the consulting industry. So this is a new industry I'm in. You know, I do consulting on the side, and I didn't know I should have maybe some paperwork involved. I should have, you know, maybe a what to expect sheet, like, hey, this is how it works, like, this is what I charge hourly, you'll get billed, so on and so forth. I didn't care to bother with any of the details. I simply was ignorant of the fact. So I spent 2 hours with her, and I just expected that maybe she was going to pay me, and she didn't. And I was mad at first, but I was mad at myself for not knowing better. But you know what? I learned from that. If you don't know, you can't be mad at yourself. But when you find out what you're supposed to do, then, you know, I beat myself a little bit up at that point. Then just kind of came back to reality. It was like, okay, well, that was a good learning experience. That was maybe a good example of what not to do. Now you'll have plenty more opportunities in the future. Just know these are the things you should probably have in place before moving forward. You know, setting those expectations for your client. Hey, this is what I charge per hour. You're gonna get billed after the meeting, so on and so forth. So these are things I've learned from failing. Unfortunately, it's costing me a lot of money, but that's just kind of part of the whole game in life. you're gonna lose money over your failures at some point. So now my most recent failure was actually working at this liquor store in my town. I was hired on as a social media personnel as well as a manager, and I got let go. But I don't know if it was certainly my fault. The manager certainly made it seem like it was my fault, but in my mind it didn't. But looking back, maybe I was at fault in some ways. But regardless, I lost a job, and I view that as a failure. But I also learned that I view that as a learning experience. I viewed it as, what lessons were involved here. Why was I put in this position in the first place? What did I gain from it? There's always some type of value you're going to attain from anything you fail at. You just have to look at there's always that, what do they call it? The silver lining, if you will. What's the underlying thing that the universe or God or whoever you believe in or not believe in, whatever the world's trying to tell you. And you have to listen. You have to listen. Why did this happen? What can I do to change it so it doesn't happen again? Or do I not want to put myself in the situation again so it doesn't happen? These are questions you have to ask yourself, and you have to be self-aware about what questions to ask. So if you don't know what question to ask yourself in the first place, then you're walking around with your head cut off. You don't know what you did wrong, but it's hard to know what you did do wrong in the first place if you don't know what to ask yourself, if that makes sense. So there's just a lot of digging within your own soul and your own mind to figure some things out, and or reaching out to others, saying, hey, why do you think I failed at this? Getting your, it may be a blow to your ego, but getting a different viewpoint is going to help a ton. So, now with the talk of all this failure, I was taught by my amazing and beautiful girlfriend. She's a professional in the counseling and psychology industry, so I've talked to her plenty of times about my failures, and she's always said this one thing, yes, it is good to kind of figure out, what you're better at or how you can learn from these failures, but you also must celebrate your successes. You have to celebrate the good things that you've done, and that's something I have struggled with, because I focus more on the failure side of things, because I do certainly like to learn from that, and I maybe go a little bit too deep down the rabbit hole. So you gotta celebrate the things you have done well at, even if they have led to failure, because you know what, that failure may lead to something successful. So if you just keep on chipping away at whatever it is that maybe you've been failing at, you're gonna find some success stories within that, and what you figure out from that is your success. So I'm gonna leave you guys with this. Whatever it is that you're struggling with right now in life, that you maybe need help on, maybe that you're failing at, find the reason why. Reach out to someone, reach out to me if you'd like. I'd be more than happy to help you out with anything at all, but most importantly, just ask yourself the hard questions. Know yourself, know why you're going through this, learn from it, and then look at your success from the result of this failure. What has it led to? What idea, what inspiration has it led to? I'm gonna leave you guys with that, and I hope this has helped in some shape, way, or form. Thanks everybody for watching. I'm Kyle Coughlin. This is my daily vlog series. Please subscribe if you haven't yet done so already. And don't forget the thumbs up. Greatly appreciate it. And also please add me on Snapchat at ProducerKCM. Greatly appreciate it, guys. It's okay to fail, and it's okay to learn from it. I'm going to leave you guys with that. Alright, see you guys.